Hi, I'm Daniel Timor, and you might know Jackson Pollock from that other video, but this is going to be the video that takes you from second in the state, like he got, to first in the state. And there are two ways we're going to do this. First is by examining a completely new structure of impromptu, called cause, effect, solution. And finally, by discussing 3 ways to stand out in any round. But first, you might know of the 3 example version of impromptu. Similarly, cause, effect, solution does have 3 examples, except one of them, instead of being a story, can oftentimes be a psychological principle. Examples include Taoism, the lone wolf mentality, neophilia, misoneism, or even the fixed mindset. Odds are you don't know what any of those mean. And that's the point. Causes are very unique ways to make you stand out, by seeming like you know about something that no one else knows about. Because as anyone can use Percy Jackson or Rush, not everyone knows what misoneism is. And that's the first way that you can stand out, simply from starting with your own structure. Now, within the actual block of a cause, you have about 15 seconds to divvy out. It's all within the 1-minute space. First, you want to spend about 15 to 25 seconds explaining the basis for what the cause is. So, let's say you're using the lone wolf mentality. This is when I'd say something along the lines of, the lone wolf mentality is the idea that we can do anything on our own, that we don't need help from anyone else. What this means is that throughout our lives, we're willing to go through everything without reaching out for anyone for help, or even to our friends or family for support, forcing us to take a lot of our actions completely on our own. After that, you can take another 10 to 15 seconds, get ready to move on, and really talk about what happens when you follow this with a very brief example. This also is a place to get a little out of the box, but we're going to expand on that within the points of uniqueness. Now, this 15 or 20 second example is very useful when really just explaining what this cause does. So, I can say something along the lines of, when you follow this lone wolf mentality, you're willing to not go out and reach for help no matter what it is you're doing, whether or not it's planning a speech or planning a party. You can end up being stuck doing all of it alone. After this, I'm going to have about 30 seconds, maybe a little less left. And at this point, I have to start linking to my original topic. I'll explain how my word, whatever that word might be, directly links to this lone wolf mentality. Let's say my word is something super easy to link, like wolf. I'll say, because wolves oftentimes believe that they can do everything on their own, they very much succumb to that lone wolf mentality. At this point, I'm about to have about 10 seconds left to do really whatever I want. And in these 10 seconds, I can usually either transition to my next point, or do a little more linking or a little more small example. But aside from this cause, everything else is about the same. You go from the cause to the effect, which is oftentimes your negative example, and then to your solution, your positive example. The negative example is going to be someone who fell into this damaging cause, something bad happened to them, and then your solution is going to be someone who broke out of that cause. And because of that, they're doing something better than everyone else. Now, for this lone wolf mentality, we can take the effect of Jack Black and see how that goes. So keep in mind to walk as you go. Jack Black. Now, you might be thinking of Jack Black as in the comedian or actor or musician, but then there's the other Jack Black. Jack Black from the 1800s, known as Queen Victoria's Royal Rat Catcher and Mole Destroyer. You see, this Jack Black decided one day that his calling in life would be to, quite literally, catch rats and destroy moles for the Queen of England. So that's what he did. He went around wherever the Queen went, killing every single little rodent he could find. But his problem came in the fact that he too succumbed to the lone wolf mentality and thought that he could do everything alone. Because of this, he ended up in the hospital multiple times, refusing to get help for any of his bites or infections, even as they continued to pile on his rotting body. You see, Jack never actually reached out for help. And because of that, he landed himself in the hospital multiple times, and even then wouldn't really accept any sort of help, leading him to have a very sick and damaging life. But now that you know what an effect would look like, how do we find a solution to this same sort of issue? Well, let's look at an example of said solution and see how this goes. Keep in mind again to move as you go. Now, you might be wondering how to break out of this mindset. And in order to do this, we can look at rapper MF Do. Now, while the MF may not stand for something vulgar, it stands for something else. Metal face. And this is where things get interesting. You see, MF Do is a rapper known for high collaboration rates. Throughout almost every single one of his albums, he works with someone new, actually creating multiple personas based purely around the fact that he's collaborating with someone else, such as Danger Doom, with Danger Mouse and MF Doom. And in an age where rappers like J. Cole are being criticized for going platinum with albums with 0 collaborations or features, MF Doom does quite the opposite, by working with as many people as he can, from Adult Swim TV all the way till Tom York of Radiohead. He shows people exactly how to break away from this lone wolf mentality. While Wolf would go on working completely alone, MF Doom reaches out as much as he can, really creating a successful, rich variety of music for you to listen to because of all of the people that he works with. Now, that's what a solution would look like. Now that you've got that out of the way, let's move on to some ways to become truly unique and stand out in a round. There are 3 that we can look at. The first is pretty simple. Simply what you wear. Now, everyone in speech and debate, for the most part, is going to be wearing some sort of suit or dress. But there's always room to stand out. Now, that can be found in a small pin that you wear that's something quirky, like a bicycle, a gun, or a can of soup. Now, without all of these, there's going to be someone else who's going to be just like you, but a little less interesting, because they don't have that key thing keeping them separate. But you don't want to take this too far. For example, having overly long and messy hair can actually be detrimental, instead of being helpful and making you stand out, even if you try to utilize it to make you seem more unique. That's why you want to make sure that you're always subtle with the way that you stand out. One really simple way that isn't actually too outrageous is a bow tie. For some people, it works wonders. But if that's not your type of tie, you can just always go with something crazy. Maybe even a new color sock, or a new color shirt. There's always a new way with what you're wearing. But second, we have to keep in mind to stay funny, because staying funny will always keep you unique. As many people simply struggle to talk without stuttering, if you can talk, not stutter, and make people laugh, you'll be seen as the best one in the room. But how do we act funny? For a lot of people, this is hard, but for some, it comes naturally. There are a lot of ways to do this. One is by using your body in crazy ways. Another is by changing your voice a lot and using a lot of really comedic timing. For example, I'm about to say a sentence that isn't really that funny, but the timing I'm going to say it with could make it very funny. One day I went to the store, and I looked around and saw a dog. If those were funny words, you might be laughing right now. But the key thing to understand here is that without even hearing the words that I'm saying, the simple tone that I'm saying it with could make it seem humorous. This on its own is a great way to stand out. But finally, we have to look to the craziest and perhaps most dangerous way to stand out. Referencing the round. Now, this can be scary, because if you overuse it and overuse this meta principle, making it aware that you're giving a speech, people can make it seem like you don't really respect the event enough. For example, giving a speech about breaking the rules of said speech can oftentimes really mess you up when the judges put in their ballots. But there's always a safe amount to do it. For example, let's say I'm giving a cause about how we're always acting as if we're being judged. I could give a line, say, whether we're actually being judged or just with our friends. There, I'm referencing the fact that I'm in a round, but not going too overboard. And even further, we have the extra ability to reference things that have already been said in the round. Let's say I was giving a speech about the lone wolf mentality and wanted to reference Jackson Pollock's speech. In this case, I could say, whether we are stuck in a situation like Rush, where no one wants to listen to us, we can always branch out by working with other people, much like MF Doom. That way our audience is much larger. Here, I'm not only giving my own original speech, but making it clear that I'm paying attention and utilizing everyone else in the round. So, with these 3 techniques, wearing something special, being meta and referring to the round, and making good jokes, you're going to be sure to stand out. So keep that in mind. Not only can you use this cause-effect solution structure, but also you can be unique. And that's how you're going to be successful in every single round.